Welcome to episode 5
of Lauren and John's sick
Lifetime Christmas movie
reviews.
Today we're going to talk about The Flight Before Christmas. Stephanie is originally planning to spend the holidays moving in with her boyfriend until he breaks up with her. Faced with spending the holidays heartbroken and homeless, she books a last-minute flight home. Starring Amy Fowler.
Yeah.
And a random dude who looks like he should model eyewear.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they had some interesting guests. You had a Santa and
Well, we'll get to that.
And the innkeepers.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
Okay, so as you heard, Amy Fowler, she lives in LA. She is going to be moving in with her boyfriend of 1 year. And so her current roommate has gotten another roommate to fill her spot.
Yep. And then she gets dumped by her boyfriend after, all of that, and is like, oh, cool, you're leaving me homeless, and, 2 days before Christmas. Yay.
Guess I'll go home to the fam. Got nothing else to do.
So she books a cross-country flight to Connecticut to get to her family, and then
Cut to the eyeglass model.
Yeah, the male protagonist.
Who is very model-esque and also zero personality. Zero depth whatsoever.
He's a dork, yeah.
But he's, very pretty. Much prettier than her. And so he is looking for engagement rings also in LA for his girlfriend, who we find out lives in Boston and who he travels cross-country once a month to see her.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So he's looking before he boards his flight to go visit her. And they both, both first interact when they're booking it or getting in line to book or to get to their flight. He's got pre-check, she doesn't. He's trying to get through the line so that he can get to pre-check, and she starts yelling at him about cutting lines and all that, and setting up the, obviously we're not friends dynamic.
Yeah, it was really obnoxious right off the bat. But we forgot to mention that as they were both going into the airport, they don't know each other. There's a Salvation Santa, Army Santa there collecting money. And of course they both donate because they're wonderful citizens. And Santa says, "What do you want for Christmas?" And she was like, "I need a boyfriend and somewhere to live." And he says,
oh, does Santa help make life-changing decisions?
Something like that. And
I didn't think so, and walks off.
It was very awkward, and I feel bad for the Santa. But
there was a creepy Santa dude that was watching the whole thing and kind of grinning at them and and just making weird facial expressions.
Yeah. And so they go inside. They have that little tiff, which is very weird. Don't be a dick. Everyone's in a rush at Christmas at airports. So anyways, she can't find her deeply discounted middle seat from a three layover flight, blah, blah, blah. So then the creepy Santa man all of a sudden pops up and goes, "Oh, Stephanie," which is her name, it's in your purse. And he literally puts his hand in her purse and pulls it out. This guy who she doesn't know at all. And I was like, that's a red flag. And she's like, "Oh, haha. Cool."
Yeah, that was weird. And then so he's boarding the flight, she gets through, and Santa's on their flight as well, and the guy offers Santa his first class seat
because of course.
Because he's having such a struggle to get on the flight and everything, and he's like, "Oh, it's Christmas, whatever, I'm okay with it. I'll go back into coach and whatnot." And
Can we talk about the airplane?
Yeah, the airplane was large. It was not an
It
airplane
was
at
not an
all.
airplane. It
It
was
was
totally a set. The aisle, three people, like all in a row,
in
like
coach.
in coach, could stand doing their thing while a middle person walks through. That's
Yeah.
bullshit.
Yeah, it was a lot. But yeah, they get into place, they get in position, and they're like, "Oh, okay." He sits, and obviously is seated next to her, so she boards the plane, and they get into an argument again because, oh, you had first class, but now you're sitting back here in the pores.
Yeah, like sure, Jan, sure. And then you see the creepy
Yeah,
Santa looking from first class going like he, and we're like,
yeah,
okay. However, Amy Farrah Fowler is on her headphones talking to her boyfriend, basically yelling at him. And the stewardess or flight attendant is like, ma'am, please put that away. We need to go on. And she's totally disregarding everyone else and just being obnoxious, being because the guy, her ex-boyfriend, wants his electric toothbrush back.
yeah. But yeah, so they get into the flight, they fly over, and then they end up getting diverted because of a winter storm. They drop down into Montana,
Montana.
and they're both hanging out in they get a day layover in Montana, so they're giving them comped rooms and whatnot, but all the hotels are booked.
Because
So
every flight
yeah,
from Montana eastward has been grounded.
so Santa obviously comes by and tells her, "Oh, yeah, you having a hard time finding a room? Call these people. They're only 2 towns over, and they're really good friends of me. And just say you know Noel, and
They'll hook you
they'll
up.
hook you up." So she calls them, and they're like, "Oh, we're booked in." And then she's like, "Oh, of course, nothing could get worse than what's going on right now." And the lady's like, "Hold on. Oh, we just had someone cancel. Our
Our
suite
best
is
suite of the
yeah, our best
house.
suite is available. Do you want to come?" And Santa was like, "Yeah, if you get a room, can you help him out too, because he gave me his first class seat," and pointed back to
Model
the
guy.
model guy. Yeah.
And she's like, of course, because who doesn't take a random person who you fought with twice
Mm-hmm.
to stay in your room with you?
Yep. So they go off to, what was the name of the
Like
town?
Montrose or something.
No, it was like
It's like Mongoose.
Cracks Peak or something.
It was like cracked. It was like Charles.
Oh,
Charles Peak.
Charles Peak. Yeah,
Charles Peak.
they go to the inn at Charles Peak, and they walk in, and
And guess
it's
who the proprietors
yeah,
are?
the lady who's checking them in is the mom from
Family
Family Matters,
Matters.
and she gets them all ready, and then calls for her husband, who, guess who walks in?
Carl
Yep,
Winslow.
Carl Winslow comes in. So they reunited those two
Uh-huh.
as the innkeepers.
And so they
And
take them up to the honeymoon suite.
yeah, they were talking, "Oh, you guys are a nice couple," and they're awkwardly are arguing about not being a
They're like, we don't
couple.
we
You
don't even
don't
know
you
each
don't know each
other.
other, and everyone's just looking at them like, "What is this weird crap going on here?"
I will say that in the car ride over, she said what I was thinking in my head. She was like, "You're not a serial killer, are you?
Hmm.
Because literally you just met this person."
Yeah.
And of
So
course he was like, only on the weekends. And no one laughed, like literally in the movie. It was just
yeah,
awkward, but whatever. And so they get to the room. There's one bed, of course, because it's the honeymoon suite. And she takes the bed and he gets the old fashioned couch. And they wake up the next day thinking they're gonna go play, and they go eat at Dickie's Pancake House or something.
yeah, it was a little shop. They eat pancakes and talk about how his girlfriend
Won't
makes
let
him
him eat
eat
junk.
healthy
Yeah.
and keeps him on a strict diet. And she's like, "Oh, well, I don't sit. I'm not insisting that people live off of fat sweets and junk, but every now and then it tastes good." And so they have their bonding moment over breakfast, and then they go to
The carnival.
Christmas carnival where she shreds him at Christmas games and wins this gigantic bear, and they're bonding and talking about all their, their life stuff. And
They are. She's like very obnoxious in this movie. She's not like, I don't know. She's very combative.
Yeah.
So then he's like, oh, here's a jewelry store. Let's like check it out before we go back to the hotel.
Yeah, because before he left, he was trying to buy a ring, and they were, it was one of those, when you find it. So he walks in and looks around, and she's arguing with him about trying to propose to the girl that he's been fighting on the phone with the whole time. And
yeah, she's pissed off because he's looking for a ring for his girlfriend of like 5+ years.
Yeah.
So then she huffs back, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, and he ends up buying a ring, and they go back to the hotel, or when they were at the jeweler, they learn that another storm is coming in, so they're not going to be able to leave because their flight was in a couple of hours, and they said that it was like another 8 hours worth of storms rolling in, so nobody's going anywhere.
So now it's Christmas Eve.
Yeah, so it's Christmas Eve. They are
stuck
in town for another day, and they go to the Christmas dance.
The Winslows are like, oh my God, you have to come to this dance off. Like, we're going to win it this year, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, no. And then they're like, well, there's nothing better to do. We might as well go.
Yeah, so they end up dressing up real nicely and going to this country dance, very reminiscent of the tailgate scene from early Schitt's Creek, where everybody's just dressed up like in flannels and all their country garb. The women are just wearing like button-down blouses with jeans and everything. And walks dude with a suit and her with a blue.
It wasn't like overly dressy.
It wasn't overly dressy, but it was much. They were both by far.
And her hair was like all to the side and curled, and he of course was like, wow.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, his girlfriend at home looks like a young Alicia Silverstone from Clueless.
Yep.
So there's that.
So they're having a nice little dance where they're doing the wallflower moments where they're just kind of drinking eggnog and watching, and then the lady who served them their pancakes comes over and is like, you guys got to get out on the dance floor and blah blah, and pulls them out and forcibly makes them dance.
And it was very cringe. But we learned that Amy Farrah Fowler has neck tattoos. So this one kept saying hashtag neck tat.
Yeah, it was a weird event. They end up walking back, and she goes in and is talking with Mrs. Winslow.
No, wait. They had that talk outside at the dance where she says, you shouldn't just like marry someone because you've been with them and you think you have to. Mm-hmm. You need to have like a super spark and want to be proposing because it's the best thing in your life and you're giddy and yada yada. And he's just like, what? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So they go back, and she goes in first while he sits out on the front stoop, and she is talking to Mrs. Winslow while he's talking to Mr. Winslow, and they're both basically telling him like, oh yeah, well, you got to chase your feelings and like do, follow your heart and all this other stuff.
I will say that Mrs. Winslow also said to her, I've never seen such a fire between two people as between you two. And I was wait.
Yeah.
There is zero chemistry between these two people. Zero.
Yeah, it was very weird, shoehorned in talking about how nicely they looked together when they also have pretty much been fighting each other throughout the whole movie.
The whole movie. She was very combative, and he was very, like, kind of dumb. Yeah. He's just kind of, like, talking to a blank wall.
But at the same time, he's out there talking to Carl, like, oh, yeah, she's very stubborn and combative and blah, blah, but I like that. It makes me feel like I can do, like, I'm not very combative, but I can argue with her and it just feels right. And I'm just like, this is so weird.
Yeah.
So he tries to go upstairs to tell her how he feels, and she's ready, like planning on to tell him how she feels, and
she knocks
she
over
knocks over his bag, and yeah.
And sees the engagement ring that he bought for his girlfriend. And so, of course, instead of having communication...
Yeah, she just goes to the airport.
She goes to the airport.
And he chases after her, but when they get to the airport, they have this super awkward scene where they basically, like, he's like, I'm going to tell you how I feel, but then he doesn't and just kind of stares at her as she says, I have to go.
And side note, how did she, out of nowhere, get a flight home that they were going to be on the same flight? One, he never even knew about it, and you just got it in the middle of the night? Like, how was that a thing?
She was just trying to get out of there.
Yeah.
So they depart. They go their separate ways. He goes home. She goes home. They show montage of her having a nice family Christmas with her family, and he is breaking up with his girlfriend over the holiday. And then they come back to town, and New Year's Eve, they're planning on, or their friends are trying to get them all to go to the same party together.
Of course.
They're like, come to this party. To Amy, she's like, I don't want to. It's not my jam. I'm just going to hang out here. And then the dude's friend is telling him to go to the party, and they're like, yeah, my friend invited us to this party. Let's go. They both say no. And they end up both going to the same bar that they had said that they liked going to in LA. And so he walks in and he's looking around, and after they both were doing a little bit of cyber stalking.
Oh yeah, they both stalk each other, and we're all smiley and giggly, and
yeah. And then they go to the bar. He arrives, he's drinking, and she shows up a little bit later and doesn't go in, but he is apparently leaving at the time that she goes in, and so they bump into each other. Of
course. And then 3, 2, 1, Happy New Year!
Yeah, they tell each other how they feel about each other. He says that he broke up with her and asks her out, and then the countdown happens. Happy New Year! They kiss.
Listen, all right, so here's him, here's her. Boop. There was no arms or anything. We even said that was an awkward effing kiss.
What was their first kiss?
Okay, but you need to have arms involved. You can't just
So yeah, they did the little peck for New Year's, and then they ended the movie with an actual kiss. Not very good.
What would you rate it?
Rating time, I'm saying it was a 3.
I'm gonna say 4. I think I'm giving it a 4 because I like Amy Farrah Fowler in real life and as her other roles. If it wasn't her, it would have been far less.
Yeah, it was like the characters were like, they were good actors, but the characters were written to be terrible. Like every single character was just badly written.
That's not true. The Winslows were good.
Yeah, but I mean, like, the important people.
Okay, fine. The guy had zero personality.
The guy had no personality.
Zero.
She was totally, like, just...
angry the whole time.
Yeah, very angry about everything.
Not likable.
It was weird to watch. And they had, like, all of the affection scenes and, like, anything that involved...
touching.
Like, bonding of any kind
was awkward.
Seemed super awkward and very forced.
It was cringe.
And not very good.
You could tell the actors weren't even like into each other either. But
yeah.
So that is The Flight Before Christmas.
It was a little bit tough, but we liked most of the we liked most of the actors, which was what drew us in. We're like, oh, hey, we recognize these people. Let's watch it.
Right.
And then it just did not work.
Didn't work. So no chemistry, no personality. Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time.